Back when Donald Trump burst onto the political stage, he arrived not as a humble public servant, but as a self-proclaimed savior, the only one, in his words, who could fix a broken America. "Nobody knows the system better than me," he declared at the 2016 Republican National Convention, "which is why I alone can fix it." That was the pitch-bold, brash, and dripping with confidence. But fast forward to today, and the same man who claimed unmatched expertise in everything from construction to climate science is increasingly hiding behind 4 words that now define his presidency: I don't know. This video explores the dramatic shift in Donald Trump's public posture, from all-knowing strongman to willful bystander, and what that evolution tells us about the changing power dynamics behind the scenes. We'll look at key moments where Trump's authority slipped into ambiguity, examine the real-world consequences of his avoidance tactics, and reveal how this deliberate vagueness has become a political weapon. Expect deep dives into his public statements, comparisons with mob-style deflection, and insight into the shadowy hands behind Project 2025, a plan for consolidating executive power. By the end, you'll see how Trump's greatest trick may not have been taking power, but refusing to take responsibility. From the beginning, Trump cast himself as a man who understood everything, better than the generals, the economists, and the scientists. He once claimed to know more about ISIS than the generals, boasted about knowing more about taxes than the greatest CPA, and even said he understood the environment better than most people. It was more than arrogance, it was branding. Trump weaponized certainty. He positioned himself as an expert in every field, offering instant, often simplistic solutions to complex national problems. The wall would be built and paid for by Mexico. ISIS would be bombed into oblivion. Jobs would return, trade deficits would vanish, and America would win so much we'd get tired of winning. But confidence without substance only works when it isn't tested. And when reality came knocking, in the form of pandemics, trade wars, geopolitical crises, and legal scrutiny, Trump's tune began to change. In recent years, especially during and after his presidency, Trump's rhetoric shifted. Asked about legal decisions, health policy, or even his own appointees, his answer was often no longer decisive. It was evasive. Consider these real statements. Asked whether non-citizens deserve due process under the Constitution, Trump answered, "I don't know, I'm not a lawyer." On whether his administration was deporting migrants to Libya, he deflected, "I don't know, you'll have to ask Homeland Security." When questioned about a controversial appointee to a top medical post, he said, "Bobby thought she was fantastic. I don't know her." And on whether tariffs would apply to basic goods that American families depend on, he offered, "I'll think about it. I don't know, I really don't." Gone was the man who claimed to know more than anyone. In his place stood a president feigning ignorance, not just once, but again and again. This wasn't a lapse in memory, it was a tactic. Let's be clear, presidents aren't expected to know every granular detail of governance. But Trump's "I don't know" reflex isn't a sign of humility. It's a deliberate method of deflection. He leverages plausible deniability not to correct a mistake, but to deny responsibility for the consequences of decisions that clearly trace back to him. This strategy has a mafia-like elegance to it. As MSNBC analyst Rick Stengel once noted, Trump's public persona mirrors that of a mob boss. During mafia trials in the 1980s and 90s, figures like Gigante and Castellano would be asked direct questions under oath, and respond almost ritualistically with, "I don't know," or "What is that?" It was a calculated way to avoid incriminating themselves while still controlling the organization from the shadows. Trump, trained under the infamous mob attorney Roy Cohn, took notes. Deny everything. Never apologize. Hit back twice as hard was Cohn's legal gospel. Trump internalized it and applied it not just to lawsuits, but to the presidency itself. As Trump dodges direct responsibility, the real worry isn't just about what he knows or doesn't know, but about who's making the decisions behind him. Enter Project 2025, led by the Heritage Foundation and quietly backed by conservative legal networks. Project 2025 is a sweeping plan to overhaul the U.S. government in the event of another Trump administration. It includes blueprints to gut the civil service, dismantle checks and balances, and hand over extraordinary power to the presidency, or more accurately to the ideologues writing policy behind closed doors. If Trump returns to office while continuing to say, "I don't know about key issues," it won't be due to incompetence. It will be a cover for the real architects of federal policy to operate unchecked. This raises a chilling scenario: a figurehead president who dodges scrutiny, while unelected loyalists transform the government in the shadows. Let's run a hypothetical scenario. Imagine Trump returns to the White House and appoints a Homeland Security secretary with ties to a private deportation contractor. Congress asks Trump about mass deportations of asylum seekers to unstable countries. He replies again, "I don't know, ask Homeland Security." Now ask yourself, is that ignorance or impunity? This isn't just about optics or media soundbites. Policies shaped by "I don't know" leadership affect real lives. Families are separated, constitutional rights are suspended, international law is violated, but with no one clearly at the helm, or rather, no one willing to admit they are, accountability vanishes into a political fog. Donald Trump once told America, "I alone can fix it." Today his message sounds more like, "I don't know, ask someone else." That's not just a rhetorical shift, it's a governing style built on evasion, confusion, and deniability. And yet, for many supporters, this ambiguity is part of the appeal. They can project onto him whatever values or policies they hope for because he rarely pins himself down. One day he supports taxing billionaires, the next he retreats. One day he attacks NATO, the next he praises its strength. His position is whatever you want it to be, until it's not. But in a democracy, leadership without responsibility is dangerous. The longer Trump stays in the spotlight while saying less of substance, the more space he leaves for operatives and ideologues to steer policy unchecked. And when things go wrong, as they inevitably do, don't expect answers. Just expect, "I don't know." Thanks for watching.